Hi everyone, this is Dragon GGY. It's another year in the books, 1 year into Wizardell. So how does our new limited operator Exia the New Covenant, aka Exia alter fare in this meta? Let's find out in this episode. Exia the New Covenant is a 6-star geek in the Specialist class. Trait of the Archetype continually loses HP, which is not some helpful information, but we'll leave that be for now. In this patch, Hidden Faction is also introduced that allows operators to enjoy bonuses from multiple factions at once in battle. Exia's main faction is still Penguin Logistics under Longman, but now she's also considered part of Laterano, and that's important for the kit later on. Now, I did trash talk Geek a little sometime back, but with the release of Exia, the archetype is getting an overall buff. They now lose HP at 1% per second instead of 3% before, and the self HP loss will no longer kill them, and they will be left with at least 1 HP. They are a marksman-like archetype with the same range and a slightly longer interval at 1.3 seconds. Their kit designs tend to lean towards damage and team buff hybrid, though I must point out that these buffs are more than often aggressive. They come with trade-offs, or to generalize, interferes with the normal functioning of allies. So before the buff, their self HP loss is a very serious penalty that usually doesn't justify the return. But Exia, being under the limited spotlight, I'd say honestly that she's almost not bothered by any of these problems, if at all. Compared to Ek, Exia trades her defensive stats for a significantly higher attack number, and this is very crucial for her damage potential. Exia's Talent 1, when deployed, recovers 6% of max HP whenever a friendly operator consumes ammo, and has a 25% chance to immediately deal 150% of attack to all enemies around a target within their attack range, 165% at potential 5. For each attack sequence, the talent only selects one target, so that's relevant for skills that spend multiple ammo in one attack. But when they do so, determination of crit trigger is independent for each ammo spent. It's based on the ammo spent as well, regardless of how many ammo was left or is saved in that process. The AoE radius of the talent is 1.3 tile, medium size but serviceable. The crit damage sources back to Exia, and it only uses the original attack range of the ammo consumer, even when they have range extension active. It's not affected by vision and targeting mechanics as well, pure randomness. This is a damage plus sustain talent. Exia provides support to and gets support from teammates. All her 3 skills are ammo based, so she's self-sustainable in skills, and we're talking about good HPS here, 400 to 600 level depending on skill. And if you cycle with another ammo skill, that'll be a built-in medic in her. Support-wise, she's able to provide additional AoE damage for all ammo-based skills, but let's face it, it's mostly herself. And this is the only AoE feature in her kit, partly making up for the single-target nature. But it doesn't really pack very high DPH even in skill because she doesn't have a lot of inherent attack modifiers. The AoE DPH is shown on the right. With module, it's 2.2k off skill and 2.7k in skill 3. 10 and 1 damage takes up about 12 to 20% of total skill damage without module, and 19 to 30% with module level 3. The Talent 2, when deployed, operators equipping ammo-based skills get attack plus 9%, 13% for potential 3, and the effect is doubled for Laterano operators. The list of Laterano operators is here. The list really hasn't updated much since Execute to Alter, but with this patch, we're getting 5 new Laterano operators, and 2 joining with the Hidden Faction update. Unfortunately, there are only 5 operators among them who have 1 or more ammo skills. And among them, really the only significant beneficiaries are Exia herself and her sister Lamion. They have attack scales in all their skills, but with little to zero attack modifiers. Others either have very high inherent modifiers that dilutes the bonus, or they are just not damage focused. For non-Lateranos, the bonus is just very minor. For Exia herself, this talent gives her 18% to 26% attack bonus depending on the potential. On release, Exia will have her Geek X module. Trade update, SP recovery plus 0.25 per second when above 80% HP. Upgrades go to her Talent 1, the crit chance is increased by 10% to 35%, and the crit damage is increased by 35%. Base effect is more significant after the buff to the Geek archetype. Suppose that you exit the skill with full HP, you can enjoy the benefit for 20 seconds before naturally draining down to 80% HP. It shortens Exia's already fast skill cycles, 30 to 24 seconds for skill 2, 35 to 28 seconds for skill 3 if the effect is always active. Crit chance increase in upgrades allows better support in the ammo team if that's ever a popular option, and more importantly, more reliable AoE damage for herself. Crit damage, on the other hand, increases the DPH of those hits, and I'm gonna post the numbers here again. Overall, this is a damage, support, and cycle improvement gadget. The crit damage surpassing the 2000 defense threshold from 1680 to 2200 is huge, and the module as a whole brings about 17% damage increase to skill 2 and 23% to skill 3. Considering that fast cycle time is one of the key appeal of Exia herself, I say level 1 is a must, but really, great module for a great operator. Level 3 is definitely recommended. Skill recommendation. Skill 2 is definitely the most used and more widely applicable one out of all 3. Skill 3 is also unique and massive, and Skill 1 is the decent but optional one at the end of the list. Skill 2 packs the highest DPH in her skill set, comes with a barrier mechanic to protect herself and another teammate, forming a safe damage environment, comes with a fast cycle and 5-digit DPS. Skill 3 in turn has the highest DPS in her kit, but the real deal is the unique redeploy function that allows you to actively redeploy an operator currently on their timer cooldown to a designated location and direction, while granting initial SP for fast startup, creating enormous tactical value, and enabling many creative gameplay. Skill 1 is the AFK option, but what's funny is that it's actually stronger when you don't AFK. Not a bad skill, but like the case for many great operators, there are better options. Skill 1 attacks deal 250% of attack as physical damage, prioritizes attacking aerial targets, consumes all remaining ammo to randomly attack enemies in range when manually deactivating. 8 ammo auto ammo skill with 8/12 SP. Stats are shown in the table. As you can see, you get a much higher DPS if you just manually deactivate every skill right after it's active. Of course, that option is situation dependent. I'll explain about the deactivation part first. Basically, when you end the skill early with targets available, it doesn't just spend all the ammo together like how you expect from Horn skill 2. Instead, the skill enters a rapid fire mode. During this phase, you are technically still in skill and you can't deactivate the skill again. The game records the current ammo count and randomly attack targets with a 2-frame interval until reaching that number. The skill will then end if all ammo is depleted after the rapid fire sequence. What it means is that if you replenish ammo or saved ammo during that process, the skill will remain active like normally, since it's only gonna spend the amount that it recorded. That said, if there's no target in range to start with, the skill will just end immediately. For applications, well, it's AFK, but again, it's only ever so outstanding if you do the manual work. Otherwise, it's quite ordinary with DPS at 1380. Pros about it is the short cooldown at 9.6 seconds, great coverage with that. The main competitor for this skill, I say, would be Narantuya skill 1. This skill has the better DPH for now, but with Narantuya getting a module in the latest CM patch, the power of that skill in close range is not to be underestimated, with almost zero downtime and much better DPS. Overall, no significant advantage compared to the established AFK skills, and is honestly not on the same page with the other 2 skill options. That brings us to Skill 2, steals 70 attack speed from one operator within attack range that lasts until the skill ends or when Exia leaves the field. Both herself and the steal target will gain a barrier equal to 250% of Exia's max HP, and the barrier will decay over time. Attack interval minus 0.7 seconds into 0.6 seconds. Each attack deals 300% of attack as physical damage. The skill has 35 ammo to start with and becomes 40 if the steal is successful, so ideally you will always want someone in the range to get the benefit. This is a 25/30 manual skill. The stats below are when she gets to steal attack speed for even shorter attack interval and 5 more ammo. As you can see, the skill deals close to 3.3k DPH, 163,000 plus total expected damage, rounding down to 10,640 DPS. Yes, you read it right, 5-digit raw DPS. She also gets a 6.4k HP barrier to protect herself. Let's crunch through the mechanics first. The steal only selects operators, not summons or equipment, and surprisingly it follows taunt level, so normally the last deployed operator gets to be the target, but if you have someone with higher taunt level like Winnar in range, he'll always get to be selected. Again, I've explained countless times how steal works. One side being taken away and the other gaining the stats are independent from each other, meaning that the stolen operator leaving the field wouldn't make Exia lose the attack speed. Of course, the stolen target does not remain stolen once they leave the field, so it's very forgiving compared to shooting your teammate 15 times in a row. When used on her own, the final attack interval would be 0.6 seconds. When successfully stealing attack speed, however, that will be further cut down to just 0.367 seconds. Next, let's talk about the barrier. Thanks to the high max HP nature of the Geek archetype, generally speaking, as a range branch, the barrier is tough enough. Health of the barrier for both the recipients is determined based on Exia's own max HP. Barrier decays linearly in 30 seconds, and the barrier health doesn't stack. Instead, it's refreshed on a new cast. Ending the skill doesn't impact the decay process, they operate independently, and if needed, you can opt to activate and deactivate the skill just to get the barrier up. One last thing, the barrier doesn't counter the self HP loss of Exia because it's not considered actual damage. For damage capability, it's absolute madness. 3k plus DPH for a marksman-like damage dealer, up to 10k plus raw DPS, all that on top of a design that massively benefits from attack buffs. Here's a DPS comparison with Ella and Narantuya, all with module level 3. And from the graph, it's pretty obvious that Exia has the dominant single target damage edge anywhere that physical damage is viable, while maintaining a decent DPH number judging from the incline. Besides the damage, the barrier is also a key feature. In short, it creates a safer environment for her to do damage and protects another ally while at it. It can be applied on a lane holder for better tanking, or for another damage dealer while they are off skill and cycling with Exia. It can protect squishies that don't really rely a lot on attack speed. And finally, being the first skill to be able to actively let operators attack slower, there are a couple of wacky applications. First of all, reduce the ammo consumption rate of defensive ammo skills to make them last longer. Key examples being Jessica Alter Skill 3 and Sancta Mil Separato Skill 2, the event welfare that comes with Exia. There are also kits that would benefit from longer attack intervals or just straight up not affected by attack speed. Most notable being the Perma Stun with Mr. Nothing module level 3, where he can stun an enemy for 5 seconds if he hadn't actively attacked for 3 seconds. With 70 attack speed reduction, he will attack at an interval of 3.3 seconds, fulfilling the requirement. And since if Exia doesn't have a target to attack, that attack speed still could last forever, so this is a low-cost 2 ops perma stun strat. Maybe we can see them getting applications in the future. Other less meaningful examples are Platinum with her talent and Visitell Skill 3 against groups of enemies. The even longer attack interval allows the Revenant Shadows to apply more after image for a bigger boom. Skills like Antilesia Skill 2, where attack speed is just irrelevant for the damage, is also a good candidate. Skill 3, attack plus 30%, each attack deals 5 consecutive hits, spending 5 ammo for 160% of attack each. If the delivery coordinate is on the field, immediately deals 250% of attack as physical splash damage to its location, and deploys the ground operator with the longest redeployment time to the location, granting them 6 SP. When using this skill, Exia will have the delivery coordinates as a deployable beacon for use. This is a 30/35 skill with 50 ammo. This skill does come with a very small attack bonus, so the talent 1 crit damage is higher, but since it's a multi-hit skill, DPH for each hit would naturally be lower. But still, the expected damage still sits at 160,000, with DPS being even higher than skill 2 at 12.6k. For mechanics, just know that you can still launch a 5-round burst with less than 5 ammo, which happens when you have Executor Alter or Lamian with her module level 3. Now for the key part of the skill, delivering a redeploying operator. When ranged operators gain the property of being able to be deployed on melee tiles, the list for valid ground operators could be updated, meaning that Exia can indeed launch Ella with a Delta module to a melee tile, similar case when you have the white down shoes in IS. However, stage conditions that allowed range operators to be deployed on melee tiles would not register them as viable targets. To confirm your launch target, you can click on Exia when she has the skill equipped. It will provide a queue in the operator deck to highlight the to-be-delivered operator. When Exia is not in the middle of an attack animation and can attack with the coordinates on field, she'll immediately do a special auto attack that deals the AoE damage in a 1.8 radius and deploy the operator if one is available. The tile has to be deployable at that moment, and you have to have available deployment slot at that moment. The coordinates can be deployed anytime before or during the skill. You can also appoint the direction for the coordinates, which will be inherited by the operator. Wow, don't tell Necros that. The coordinate does have a separate 70-second redeployment timer though, so you can kinda see it as nullifying a standard operator's timer every other redeployment, and you don't really get to spam it. For that deployment with the delivery, it's mechanically deploying the operator at 0 DP, but when you retreat them again, you do get the supposed amount of DP refund. That's huge, and I'll explain in just a moment. Let's go through the damage part of it first. Again, DPH is lower than Skill 2, but higher DPS, resulting in a pretty similar total damage. Skill 3 does deal a higher AoE DPH due to the extra 30% attack, and can trigger multiple times in one attack for even higher burst. However, each attack would always guarantee to spend 5 ammo on one selected target, and will overkill on trash mobs. It also takes away the Talon 1 damage because the target is lost. Kinda a throwback to her original Skill 3, and due to that little inherent attack percentage buff, it's slightly less buff potent than Skill 2. So as a personal opinion, I say for damage, Skill 2 is the usual choice, especially for general player base. Whenever Skill 3 is used over Skill 2, it is when you need the redeployment utility. That's almost 100% true for advanced gameplay. So let's dive in on what this unique utility offers in terms of never-before-seen strategies. I divided them into 4 major categories: DP regen, 2 skills in a row, repositioning, and chaining up special skill effects. Let's break it down one by one. First, DP printing. It's very easy math. The coordinate costs 0 DP. Deploy an operator, retreat them, redeploy with Exia, and retreating them again would give you a net gain of 0.25 times of their DP. If that operator is a Vanguard, it's a legit DP laundry. It works with Vanguards who has instant DP generation, notably Texas Skill 2 with her module level 1, preferably with Bagpipe. You get a net gain of 28 DP in as short as 4 seconds. You can also opt for charges with the X module that refunds the full current DP. You deploy Bagpipe, kill 1 or 2 enemies, retreat, delivery, maybe another kill, retreat, instant profit. It's a mathematically proven, efficient strat to start the stage as long as you put in the work. Case 2. Double skill for damage dealers. Skills that are devastating when active but may have a long cooldown. Now you can use them twice in a row. For example, Holder Skill 3. The skill lasts for 70 seconds, so with the 6 initial SP, you can turn the downtime of this skill to just 4 seconds. You can also do back-to-back Surtur Hospital with Monster. As we introduced in the last episode, Monster can keep Surtur on the field for up to around 62 seconds after skill use, and Exia can quickly bring Surtur back for another round. You can also put in 2 burst damage skills for enemies that would turn vulnerable for slightly longer, for example, Dragon Breasher Skill 3. Case 3. Repositioning. This is very straightforward, but is a key reason for her relevance in low ops runs. It also allows her to recover operators from forced redeploy lockdowns. For example, the Coffins in IS5 ending 1, the ships in ending 4. That's beating mechanics with mechanics. And finally, chaining up skill effects. These are effects that oftentimes you wish could last even longer. For example, all sorts of crowd controls, including the double TP from Yu skill 2, Saria skill 3 for the slow, Blamey skill 2 with her module Y to sleep enemies, Elysium skill 2, Silex skill 3 that's DP and CC 2 in 1, we have Ella skill 3, 4 mines to spend, 1 more on retreat, and down goes another round, Crown Slayer skill 3, and many more, you name it. Others include immortality effects like Spectre skill 2, Hoshiguma alter skill 3 in 3 months. You can also bypass the redeployment penalty for no alter skill 2. Many of these possible applications are feasible because of the extra 6 SP on delivery, truly a godsend, and as the mechanic of upcoming operators is getting more and more game-changing, this skill is looking like a great support catalyst that will continue to rise in its value. To wrap up, honestly, Exia is a very straightforward character, next generation single target burst damage dealer, also equipped with a unique redeployment support gimmick that could keep her relevant for years to come. Her talents pack self-sustain, AoE, team support in one. Skill 2 is a new ceiling for single target burst damage with a barrier mechanic to ensure survival. The active redeployment offered by Skill 3 is also full of proven and future potential. Frankly, Exia is very good almost everywhere. Her cycles are forgiving, her damage is solid despite being mostly single target. Buffing her in this meta often ends up being an overkill. She's definitely meta in integrated strategies. Key skill 2 is available in E1, scales like crazy with attack buffs, and the redeployment gimmick turns out effective against certain mechanics. She has multiple hardcore clear records like VB Season 1 end stages, IS4 Sentinel with no relic, 6 ops. Eventually, I settled with the 9 daily rating. Usually single target damage wouldn't make it this far, but she's just too peaked at that. Other than looking out for your skill 2 steal target, it's just click and mayhem. The cycles are fast, ammo mechanic allows her to hold up to the skill, so the timing is very forgiving if at all needed. When it gets dire, you get the barrier for sustaining damage, and you can pull off all kinds of shenanigans with skill 3. Advanced, I think 10 is for certain. While what we addressed about skill 2 still holds, skill 3 with the redeployment feature is her ticket into the far future. Her damage cranks up in IS almost every game, the barrier helps to keep herself and others alive when it's needed. IS5 is perhaps her least outstanding theme. She doesn't need attack speed much, which is prevalent in IS5, and she interferes with the process of Lamp of Wishes being a geek operator tied to a hand and a book. But still, the enormous relic reservoir is enough to make her damage skyrocket, and her skill 3 tackles the ending gimmicks fairly well. IS6 is where she dominates, her high requirement for survival in the endings, ammo-related relics, and she's considered a Yanni's operator, which is crazy, but is relevant for the locker nodes in the special map. For debuff game modes, where redeployment time increase is a very frequent factor, her skill 3 shines. If you look at the records we mentioned, it's all skill 3. Double TP for you, repositioning operators, all sorts of strats become possible. All new ground operators releases after her should stand the test of how good is this skill if it's launched by Exia again. And that proves its potential. Now for pool analysis, I can't really think of any that should stop you from pulling her. Other than the gameplay features we mentioned, she's also the yearly limited that they set out to make a giant of like Wizardell last year. And up until this point, I'd say she definitely hold up to the title of 2025 Wizardell, despite the competition being much crazier this year. We've extensively talked about the gameplay pros. For cons, I do want to address her lack of multi-target again. It's not a big deal in daily, but for harder context, like IS6 higher difficulties where AoE high hit count is a requirement, relying on her crit talent is certainly not enough. Also, as is the same for all ammo-based skills, she doesn't benefit much from attack speed, so that's a little miss, especially when Monster just came out being a attack speed buffer. But still, these nitpicks are just what keeps her from even better, she's already stacked. For schedule, the upcoming Vector Breakthrough should give you an early glimpse of her power, and IS6 around the end of the year is where she shines. Make your moves, hopefully you already do. That's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. This is quite a bumpy month for me. Lots of work, Perhaps a business trip that will make me unable to co-stream the CN 6.5 anniversary preview, which is unfortunate, but we'll have to wait and see. That also means the episode for Lamion would come out later, potentially not making the banner time, but I'll see what I can do. Anyway, I hope you all best of luck in the banner if you haven't polled already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.